in terms of the potential here for an Iranian response to this, some kind of Iranian military response, some kind of Iranian proxy response to this. What can and should the United States be doing right now?
Yeah, so the idea that General Soleimani was killed, Americans should not shed a tear for him. He was a ruthless commander and a killer. Many U.S. soldiers have suffered due to his backing of Shia militias. At the same point, this is something that could have been done, as you talked about at the beginning here. This is a person that walked out in the open in Iraq for years. This attack could have been carried out at any time. So the reason is why? What is the calculation for why do it now, and what are you trying to achieve? What this could bring, what the scenario is, why we didn't do this before, is it could lead to regional terrorist attacks against Americans, U.S. personnel. If you are a U.S. service member anywhere in the Gulf right now or in Iraq, if you're those Marines that just landed there at that embassy, you could be under a much dire threat in the coming days and months. Those Shia militias in Iraq are very loyal to Soleimani and the Quds Force. Even beyond this in the region, when we talk about proxies, Hezbollah, they are oftentimes referred to as the A-team of terrorist groups. You had al-Qaeda and ISIS. Yeah, we've talked about them a lot, but this is a vertically organized terrorist group with lethal capabilities, strategic intentions, very sharp decision-making, and they prepare their responses. So would they attack out in the region? These are the scenarios we've always worried about. This could be something that would trigger it.
And just what can realistically the United States be doing right now with that possibility looming?
The first thing would be to immediately harden all facilities in and around the region, particularly embassies, soft targets. If you're looking at Western hotel chains, for example, or places where Westerners congregate, those would be things that you would start to want to be putting in a counterterrorism or really anti-terrorism defensive positions around. If you look back at Hezbollah and the way they have striked before, or how they interact with things like the Quds Force and the IRGC, they might prepare those sporadic attacks around the perimeter of the U.S. as a retaliatory sort of measure to go at U.S. personnel to send a message back to the United States government. The other thing we would do is we would maybe see troop deployments, regional troop deployments or beefing up of forces. So would the U.S. Navy essentially send in more carrier groups? Would we see missile defenses deployed into the region? One of the things the Quds Force is particularly known for, as we talked about at the beginning of the hour, is missiles. They have very extensive missile forces. Would they launch an attack, either sea, air, ground, against U.S. forces in the region? So you would expect this sort of a buildup, this sort of a shield, this protection shield, if you're going to go ahead and make one of these strikes. Maybe a lot of this has been happening. We've not been paying attention. There's been a lot of things going on around the world, but I'm not seeing the significant sort of announcements that would normally accompany this movement of personnel around the region or even the world, or even sort of preparatory talks about this. And we don't even have an announcement coming out really from the Pentagon or the White House today about what's going on. We got an American flag tweet as sort of, this is something maybe we did. It's very elusive at this point.
Well, yeah, and Anita, you were talking about this, but let me just follow up on that again for the sake of clarity here. What communications have we received publicly from the administration on this? And has there been any suggestion, any coordination behind the scenes about when we might hear more?
Well, we haven't heard when we're going to hear more. You just showed the president's tweet earlier, which was just the American flag with no commentary. We assumed that meant confirmation. The Pentagon followed up very quickly with a statement saying that this was, an American the United States did do this, and actually had a sort of a justification there and said that they were trying to prevent an attack. And so I think that's a legal justification. As members of Congress, as Bob had mentioned, members of Congress are going to be coming and saying, why are you doing this? The Pentagon is saying they were trying to prevent an attack on Americans. But we haven't heard a briefing. As I mentioned before, there hasn't been that interaction you would normally expect. I checked in with, the official White House press office and other people over there. They don't expect anything else to come out of there. So what we have is the president down in his resort in Florida, and we'll wait to see what else he says. You can bet he'll probably tweet some more. He does have a campaign event tomorrow, and he will probably speak about it at that time.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.